Hello, everyone. On today's episode of DEETOUR, we have Dustin Godsey, CMO of the Milwaukee Bucks, the hottest team in the NBA. He's also a Menlo Club member, which makes this one even more special. We connected over email probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, and he was in Los Angeles, so we connected. They were playing the Lakers, and we had an amazing conversation about what it takes to be in the sports industry and kind of the changes that are happening in the industry. And I found it more interesting that his journey in terms of getting into sports is very familiar to a lot of people that have gone into many different industries. And what are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice to eventually get to your dream job? And it's super interesting to hear. He's a passionate guy. He's able to accomplish a lot of great things at a young age. So stay tuned. Listen to this episode. DM me and let me know what you think about his story. And to have this position as someone that grew up in sports, just watching sports, playing sports, and just obsessed with anything sports, this is an amazing conversation because it's rare to talk to someone like this and hear their actual journey. So let me know. All right, Dustin, thanks for joining me today. I want to just get right into it. How do you get in the sports business? Because, I grew up playing sports. Obviously thought I was going to be in the NBA. That obviously didn't pan out. And I'm guessing that's like 100 million kids think that. And being in sports is like, to me, being in the music industry or being in fashion. Like, a lot of people dream of doing it. But like, and I would say that at least in fashion, you can just go to a website, print a shirt, and now you're in fashion. In sports, you can't do that. Like, to get into the industry is like, there's a hierarchy. And there's like, I don't even know where someone would start today if they wanted to be in the sports business.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think, it's changed a lot just in how media and what a sports team even is now. It's more than just sort of, selling tickets or sponsorship and, about the basketball game or the baseball game or whatever it is. It's, we're kind of entertainment and content companies now as much as anything.
Wow.
So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. So, the old thing used to be, it was, you'd intern with a team. That's how I got my start. I interned with a couple of minor league baseball teams, worked for a small hockey team, and just kind of worked my way up and moved around a lot.
If you think about it, interning at a minor league team. So I'm friends with a lot of baseball players. They tell me minor league is just the worst experience for a player. You're the intern. So what is that like?
It's interesting because you actually get so much experience because there's no staff. You're doing everything. Literally the first team I worked for, the PR guy got fired halfway through the season. I basically became the de facto PR guy. As a senior in college, like, great experience, right?
Yeah.
So getting to do that sort of thing. But there's a lot of, you're the guys out there running around, throwing out T-shirts and doing all the in-between inning things. Like, there's a lot of that, and it's a lot of time. My second minor league baseball internship, I worked in the box office most of the time during the day. You're there for 10-day homestands, so you're there from 8 o'clock in the morning until after the game at night. I think I was making $600 a month. Like,
wow.
It's silly, kind of what you put yourself through, but that's kind of the way, in a little bit. But I think, that's changed some just in that, again, like, there's so much great kind of fan-driven content and things like that. Like, we see video content and things that fans are just putting together as hobbies almost.
Yeah.
That, that's now a way that you can actually get attention and get out there just through social media and getting your name and being a part of, the NBA is great from a social media standpoint. NBA Twitter is the best. And so, people can actually kind of build up and get known that way. And even if they aren't working for a team, kind of start building their personal brand.
Yeah. And do you think, so that's how you would recommend it? So if you're like really passionate about sports, content's like such a great way. Is that how you would get into it? Like, if you think about House of Highlights was some kid's personal clip
Incredible,
page,
yeah.
and it's probably the most powerful social media account for all of sports now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so is that you, instead of, you wouldn't recommend go intern at the minor league?
No, I think it depends on what you want to do. And I think, if you're on more of that creative side and, that's kind of what your passion is, I think those are avenues in. But I do think, finding, a way to intern and get experience and, like anything else, it is a very tight-knit, industry.
Yeah.
And people move around from team to team and just kind of building that network of people. Again, that's how I got in.
So like you go work at a minor league team, and then is it just once you have that experience, you start applying for jobs, and then you kind of have to grind it out with different teams?
Yeah, for sure. So, I did the 2 minor league teams. Like I said, I worked for a small junior hockey team. Again, there were 4 of us in the
Wow.
front office. I mean, that was it. We were running everything. And then, through that connection, ended up working at an arena and doing, and again, I was kind of out of sports for a little while. I was doing a lot more of the concerts and the family shows and kind of promoting on that side, but working with teams and tenants that we had and just kind of building connections that way.
Yeah.
And that's, kind of no magic sauce to it, I guess.
Yeah. And then what was like your big break?
I think for me, it was, when I was out in Philadelphia for 6 years, again, just the company I was working for, and just getting to, kind of move up through there. I had, my boss took another job and was able to kind of move up and oversee the marketing department there. And through that, got to work, really, really closely with the Flyers and with the Sixers and just all these teams. And that was really the opportunity for me to really get, to the point where I was, managing a lot of people and going through that process. And then that's what ended up landing me in Milwaukee and then, it's kind of been history from there.
And would you recommend, if you wanted to go get a job at a team, is to go to a team that's losing so there's more opportunity?
No, I mean, it's funny, but I mean, it's true in a lot of ways. And it's a lot harder work. I can tell you that. I mean, my first couple of years when we were, I was kind of building out our marketing department and going through, it's not fun going through a 15-win season.
Yeah.
But that's actually the years when you get to have the most creativity and the more like opportunities just to try things and do things. And that's where you can actually kind of to shine and build.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then what's your kind of view on sports today? So like I have this view that sports for young people, that when we grew up, if you were a boy, sports is just what you did, right? It was just pushed onto us. We watched basketball, football, we all played sports. And then this generation has choices. It's like more pull content. Like I want to watch someone stream Fortnite, or I want to do this. Like how do you guys think about like staying relevant in such a competitive like media landscape?
It's tough. And I think, you're going to continue to see it change and evolve over the next few years. But I mean, it's the great thing still about sports is, people are definitely consuming content in much different ways. And, it's kind of that on demand, or it's YouTube, or, you even see the league now going to where you can actually buy the end of games on League Pass.
Which is amazing.
Which is incredible. And I think that's one of the things that I love about the NBA is that they've already been thinking kind of and trying to innovate around this and thinking about these challenges. But at some point, at some level, sports is still kind of the one appointment television, that people want to watch, right?
Yeah.
There's still something about seeing things happen live, being able to talk about it, being, chatting with your friends, being, on social media, talking about it. So from that standpoint, I think sports is still there. And it's then how people kind of get the recaps. It's not everybody watching SportsCenter in the morning and talking about it. It's, they've got the highlights instantly. I mean, we're publishing in-game highlights 30 seconds after they happen on Twitter and going through. And so I think that is the part of it that's really changed. And then I think from a live standpoint, that's where, we'll really kind of have to focus over the next few years is, how do we make sure that we keep and differentiate what the live experience is for the people buying tickets and coming in and making sure that, again, it's about, the social experience of being with people, because we know that, people have giant TVs and they can sit and watch, and the game, you can see it just as well at home in some cases, but it's about the full experience. And that's, we just opened a new stadium, and that was forefront on our mind, was how we actually open this up and turn this into that social experience for people and allow them to engage with each other a little bit more, to make sure that we're differentiating the live experience.
And what do you guys think about gaming and gambling? It's coming, right?
It's coming.
Yeah.
I think you're starting to see it until you get, I think we're up to 7 or 8 states now that have it legalized. Until you see, I think,
like, will we be able to be betting
nationally? You're gonna start seeing, in-app betting, kind of betting on what the next play is going to be, things like that. Like, you already see it in Europe and places like that. And I think, we're probably a couple years away from really seeing that and having teams being able to kind of adopt, real programs around it. But it's coming.
The other big question I have, and this is more of a personal question, I find eating at stadiums impossible, right? Like, and I wondered, do fans just not care about eating healthy and that's just the demographic, or do they actually again, I think I take it from an LA standpoint. I would never eat anything at Staples Center because I don't want to eat that stuff, right, ever. I went to a game one day with my friend's son and him, and his son wanted edamame and a green juice, and he's 14 years old. Right. And so in a place like Milwaukee, are fans asking for healthier options, or they don't? Is that not on their radar yet?
Yeah, no, they are. And I think it's, we as we built the new arena and really developed a, kind of a food program that, was very focused on local. We've got a lot of local restaurant partners and all small shops, the kind of one-offs and things like that, we partnered with and brought in. And so we've, one of our better performing stands is a poke bowl stand. Yeah. And that's great. That's where I eat most games. But we also, look, chicken tenders and hot dogs are still the number one sellers. That's still what people want. I think there's something about going to a game and going to that experience where people just associate it with eating like that. And so that might not be their normal, but that's just what they want to do when they're going to, grab a beer and have a hot dog. And that's just kind of part of going to a game. Yeah.
I have serious panic when I have to go to a game about food. Because I just don't want to eat nachos and a soda or whatever. I just don't want to eat that stuff because I just feel like shit after I eat it. No, it's not fun.
And so we were thoughtful about that, and we actually opened on our upper concourse kind of a public food hall sort of thing where, again, there's poke bowls, there's gyros, there's that sort of thing that you can actually get a little bit of a lighter choice if that's what you want. And it's doing phenomenally well. It just will never be to the scale of your chicken tenders and your hot dogs.
Got it. What about esports? And I'm not even talking really about the 2K, NBA 2K, because that's obviously in your guys' lane, and I know a lot of those big personalities. But as someone in the sports industry, do you see, and watching it evolve so quickly in in the last 5-10 years, do you think esports teams are going to be like NBA and NFL teams?
In some ways, I think they already are. Globally, these guys are massive stars. Yeah. And so, it's an interesting, sort of marketing challenge a little bit with these teams, because it's not necessarily, they've got the big events and they sell out, stadiums all over the world, but it's not, you're not necessarily tied to that geographic location, which is interesting. And it's sort of where we're at, globally anyway. Yeah. But there's still something about following your local team, I think, that is still the part that I think some teams in, the Overwatch leagues and things like that, they still struggle with a little bit. How do you actually differentiate yourself without it being wholly about the personalities on your team? Yeah. It's tough to build a brand that way when it's just about who the individual people are.
Because are you seeing people in your industry, more of the professionals go in there and help structure them? Because we work with some of those guys, and I feel that they still lack what you guys as the Milwaukee Bucks have, a plan, a strategy, and a way of attacking the business different than hey, we're gonna go play some games, we're gonna make a shit ton of money, but we're not actually building a brand.
Yeah, no, they're really starting to develop that way, and you're actually starting to see a lot of. One of our owners owns a team. The Sixers, have some things. The guys in DC have a team. You're starting to see traditional sports owners really kind of invest and get in on this side, and that's really the missing part. And that's I've had a lot of conversations with FlyQuest, which is Wes Eden's team. Mm-hmm. And they've come in and seen our organization, our structure, and just to try to get some best practices from that standpoint. So it's definitely professionalizing really, really rapidly.
Wow. What about what are some if I were to ask you, what does sports look like in 10 years? What do you think, if I took basketball and football, since those are the two most popular, what do you think would happen?
Football's a tricky one. And it's really going to be really interesting to see, how the NFL continues to adapt. I mean, they're still the NFL, right?
Yeah.
And so any talk you hear about, kind of the decline in ratings or anything like that, they're still untouchable. I mean, it's like 20 of the top 25 TV audiences last year were NFL games. Like it's insane. But I've got a 4-year-old son. My wife doesn't want him to ever play football. Like, I mean,
neither. I would never
where we're
let
at, right?
Yeah. So eventually that funnel of players should dry up.
Yeah. I mean, you would think. I mean, that's just kind of a natural course of action. I don't think it's in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But over time, I think we're going to see that shift a little bit. It's interesting with the NFL too, just with kind of the AAF that's come in, and
which is even more violent.
XFL, which is even more violent. But again, I think pushing them to innovate just around some of their production and the way they present the game a little bit. Like I think you'll see. I know everybody talked about in the AAF's first game when they were actually having the replay refs mic'd up so you could see what they were talking about. Like that, the NFL I would guess is going to do that next year.
Yeah.
And then I think on like the NBA side, like it's just everything's becoming more global.
Yeah.
And
so you think there'll be teams in other countries?
And really a true sort of world championship sort of mentality around it. Like
because there isn't really a true global sport. I mean, even soccer, which is everywhere, it's not like only during the World Cup do all teams kind of compete against each other, or at least all countries get to participate against each other. And I think that's what we're a global community, but we don't get to compete against each other unless it's the Olympics, which no best athletes are going to.
Right. No, and I think that's definitely where it'll go. And I think I actually think you bring up soccer, like I think MLS is like really like on that next part.
Really?
I mean, I think that's going to blow up over the next few years because I mean that's what kids play. That's what they watch. Like that's the thing that, and it's such an easily accessible sport. I mean, it's super simple. It's going to be over in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I think, and everybody plays it all over the world. So I think, to me, that's sort of that's kind of the sleeping giant to me in North American sports.
Wow. Is there any piece of advice or like kind of someone who wants to get into sports, like one thing you would recommend them to do?
No, I think, it's about, and I think, there's two types of people at the intern level or that sort of thing that want to get into sports. There's the people who are super passionate about the work and what they do, and whether that's, selling tickets or marketing or creating video, like what, and there's people who want to be around sports. If you just want to be around sports, don't do it. Like go be successful at something else and buy tickets.
Buy season tickets.
Like that's not what it's about. Like it's not glamorous. Like it's got, obviously fun moments, but, just figure out what you're passionate about and work your ass off at it and get yourself out there and meet people and the other thing, and I say this as somebody who might, again, going back to the internships, the first internship I made $500 for the summer. Mm-hmm. The second one I was making $600 a month. Like don't give your stuff away. Like work hard if you're out there putting out content because that's what you love to do, and that's great, but like you should make money for what you're doing and for your work. So don't just go do it for free. Like meet people but demand that you're getting your due. Like
that's fair. Okay, last question. Who's gonna win the NBA title this year?
Bucks in 6.
I like that. I'm with that. I hate the Warriors, so I'd love the Bucks in 6. I'm coming to a game. I'll come out to the closeout game.
Love to have you out. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.